Peace, peace. Salute, good people. Salute, 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 everyone. Hope you guys are okay. Hope everybody is well. Big love to the good people. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. Sorry for the few minute delay. Was just getting some last minute things together, but I hope that the good family is well. Salute, everyone. Salute. Um, I'm going to go straight in. If everything is audible, let me know if you guys hear me okay, right? And I'll keep an eye out. Yeah, let's get into the salutations of the good family. Big love, infinite love to everyone. Let's see who we got in the building this Sunday, right? Our first Sunday of November. Crazy work how we are in November already, you guys. What? Let's see who we got in the building. Infinite love to the King Nata in the building with a super chat. Thank you so much for gracing the channel with your presence, King. Always lovely to see you. He says, salute, SugarFreeMars, and salute to the mighty LDBC. Infinite love to you, King Nata, as always. Thank you so much for joining. Oh my goodness, we got my twin. My twin, the lovely Daryl Anderson, is in the building. He says, salute to the beautiful queen, aka my twin Sugar Free. Salute to the rest of the kings and the queens in the chat. You already know what time it is, Daryl. Big love to you. And as always, King, which makes me laugh every time. Get them nines all the way up, y'all. All right. Put some nines in the chat if your energy is good, if you are well rested, if you intend to have a wonderful week, if you 10 toes with the goddess Sugar Free, put some nines in the chat, right? Salute to my twin Daryl in the building. Lovely to see you as always, King. Infinite love to the king and the coach, Hudson. 10 toes on deck as usual. He says, salute to the queen of boxing media, my number one comrade, Sugar Free. And salute to the chat. Been needing to hear the queen for a while. Yes, King. Happy to be here with you. Happy to have you. Infinite love to my number one comrade, Coach Hudson. Salute to the queen, Mama Love. Tequila Fields in the building. Hey, my beautiful queen, Mama Love. Infinite blessings to you. Big, big hugs to you as always. She says, salute, warrior queen. Peace to the family. Yes, I love to see that. I love to see the good energy on deck from my good people. Oh my goodness, there she go, my beautiful sis. What's up to my beautiful sis, Cammy Cam in the building, 10 toes on deck as usual. She says, my beautiful sis, sending peace, love, and blessings always with her hearts and her smileys. Thank you so much, beautiful sis. Lovely to see you. Oh my goodness, my other beautiful sis, Emma. The queen Emma is 10 toes on deck today. Early, right? I caught you early. So it's lovely to see you, beautiful sis. Thank you for joining. She says, peace and abundance, Sugar-Free Mars. Peace and abundance to the chat. Always with her green hearts on deck. Thank you so much, beautiful sis. Lovely to see you. Salute to the queen Emma in the building. Yes, we got the King Mo also in the building. Infinite blessings to the King Mo. He says, salute to the queen and the family in the chat. Yes, we have Vietnamese Styles with his salute on deck in the building. Infinite blessings to you, King. Thank you so much for joining. Oh my goodness, there he go. NBAD, nice. Always with the wonderful energy on deck. Every time I see this brother. Infinite blessings to you, King. He says, salute, queen. Big salute to you. We have Chef Dre in the building. He says, salute, Sugar Free. And he got his 9 on deck. You already know what time it is. That's what I like to see. Hold up. Wait, let me let me do this right, y'all. We got the King, Stephen X, in the building today. Infinite blessings to the King. Stephen, do you giggle every time I do that? Like, I don't know, I can just picture you like holding your head, like with like the shaking my head emoji every time I do that every week. But it's just something I have to do. Like, I don't know, it's become part of the routine when I see you in the live. So infinite blessings to the King Stephen. He says, peace, salute, and love, queen. Thank you for continually raising consciousness. And he added the 9. What? That's what I'm talking about, King. That's what I like to hear. Thank you so much for that compliment, King. You do the same as well with your wonderful writing, with your channel. You guys make sure to go subscribe to the King Stephen. Go check his SugarRingMedia.com. That's his website where he has a whole bunch of wonderful articles that he has written. You guys can catch up on if you haven't already. Go visit the channel, go visit the site. The king is definitely a truth teller, as my comrade Coach Hudson would say. So he's one of the truth tellers as well. Go check out the brother Stephen X. We have Devo in the building with his crowns on deck. Thank you so much, King. Lovely to see you. I appreciate you joining. Oh my goodness, we got my big bro, the Druth. The Druth is in the building. Yes, King. Lovely to see my big bro. As always, I always smile when I see big bro roll through to check in on me. So infinite blessings to the King Druth. He says salute to the chat. We got the King Mark, my good brother, as I call him. My good brother Mark is in that building. He says, touch that like button, hashtag LDBC, hashtag Bomb Squad, hashtag Team Petty, because you know we petty over here. Okay? We tend to go there sometimes. Sometimes that's absolutely necessary, King. So salute to the King Mark, as always, with the wonderful vibes and energy. Who is this? Child, I would attempt to say this, but I don't even want to do it. Okay? Blessings to you as well. What does that say? Wagwan reactions. Okay, I like that. Oh, okay. And I see you got the Jamaican flag. Okay, now. Well, I love my West Indian people. I love my people from the islands. I am an island gal. Okay, so salute to you. Infinite blessings to you. Have I seen you before? I'm not familiar with that name or that that picture there, but salute to you. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Right? Thank you for joining this cook. The King Stephen says, yeah. Oh my God. So I'm dead on, because every time I do it, that's literally the image I have in my head. Like, this man is holding his little, right between that little, right between your eyes, like holding that little spot. Like, oh my God, here she goes again, child. I just like to do it, Stephen. All right, let me live. Can I live? Damn. Salute to the King Stephen. We got the King D also in the building. 10 toes. Lovely to see the King. Every time I see you, it's wonderful energy, King. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate you guys. Oh my goodness. Hold up. We got the King, my beautiful King, that is BFTB. 10 toes. You understand me? Okay? Like a king should be standing. All right? He says, I got to compliment you for this meme. Back to listening. He's like, I'm retiring and reclining to the background. Thank you so much for the compliment. I appreciate you. Yeah, a little something I threw together. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just a little something. Okay. But as the good family, you guys make your way in. Definitely wanted to extend some blessings to you guys. I hope the previous week was good to you. I hope, hold on one second, you guys. 1 second. All right, here we go. And we're back. So I hope the week was good to you guys. I hope that, you guys were in good spirits and good energies. Of course, that is always important. And I'm wishing, of course, and extending some blessings to you guys. I definitely appreciate your presence for joining. Let's see what I wanted to cook on today, you guys. Now, what's funny is that a lot of this, that's really going to be like, a heavy discussion. Not for me, but I know that it's been like building and kind of swelling and gaining steam and gaining traction across social media. And I was not going to divulge on any particular aspect of this, but I felt like, because I did touch on it a couple of lives back, right? I did kind of touch on it a little bit, and decided that, I would just once and for all give a full take and a full perspective on, this particular avenue. But Of course, as I like to do, I like to kind of tie it all in together. And in this show, I was really trying to look for a way in which I can best do that, right? What is kind of like the underlying tone? What is the undertone that kind of ties in all of the points that I want to talk about today? And I kind of came up with the idea of the concept of the era, right? And the need to build, the need to build, and the importance of the position of the builders, the people who are carrying the building blocks, the people who are implementing brick by brick, stone by stone, everything that's going to be necessary for them to assume and amass a level of legacy, um, that they want to inherit, right? Because they are people coming off of a previous era. So it's always something that you inherit as a fighter within your day, but also what they want to pass on, right? If that makes sense. But I think that overall, I'll say this, things seem to be crescendoing for me. There's a crescendoing happening. And it's one that's been taking place, right? It's always present. There's never a time where it's not. It's either pulsating kind of dramatically or it kind of gets quelled. But nonetheless, there is a crescendoing, a little wave after wave underneath the surface in boxing that I always find to be interesting. And I find there changes in the dynamics of those little swells, um, and vibrations that happen, from season to season, year to year, always kind of determine the trajectory of the coming year, right? So as we are at the end of our, the 2025 cycle and slowly inching towards the next, these types of things, have passed my mind over, since we last spoke last week. So while there seems to be a pause, right? Or a level of questioning that seems to be lingering about regarding the futures of some fighters, regarding the aptness even of some fighters, or even the end goals of some fighters, right? All these questions that have been kind of lingering around for the past year and a half very prominently, and certainly within the 2025 cycle. I think that at the same time, however, thankfully, we do have some interesting moving parts that are at play here, even amid a lot of the questionings that have been going on and the questionable lingering aspects that we are presented with constantly, right? As conscious boxing fans, right? The good family. So um, I think that amid some interesting moving parts, there is a potential that is cooking on the stove that I think that we are very, very aptly and very completely and resoundingly going to finally be tapping into. And I will tell you why in just a bit. Let me just set the table here, as my beautiful king BFTB would say. Okay, so somewhere between the quiet and the chaos of boxing, you guys, I feel, what did my damn twin say? He says a lot of parts will be moving. Okay, Joe. All right now. All right. Let me land, Daryl. Let me set this table. Let me set this table because you know what I'm going to be tapping into, right? So somewhere between the quiet, good people and the chaos of boxing, somewhere between that sweet spot, ladies and gentlemen, I feel that we are inching closer and closer towards a climate within boxing, in other words, where we will begin seeing fighters taking their rightful positions and places finally. Like I have the feeling of that. And I know a lot of that is due to my optimism because I'm very impassioned about this sport and I'm very impassioned when it comes to the fighters that I support, the particular fighters that, I stand vehemently with, absolutely resoundingly and vehemently with. It is to these fighters that I am speaking of, right? Because a lot of people are still kind of making their way, but there very much are people who have been setting the path and creating their path, unabashedly all this time. And I think that there is going to be an entrance into a cycle or period where they finally come through, and can finally be seen wholly. Now that may just be my optimism talking, but I do get the feeling of that. And I think that's something that even amid all of the drama and the folly, um, there's those moving parts couldn't be stopped. They were moving all the while, even amid all the debauchery, even amid all of these charades and everything like that, the nonsensical tirades and calls for retirement and exhibition fights and all of that, right? All the while, even if it was at a sub level, right, subterranean level, the parts were moving all the while. The parts that needed to move and grow and fecundate, they have been moving all the while, right? Despite all of the charades that we have been seeing and witnessing over the past, let's say, very prominently, I would say the past 2 years, right? And by that, I mean, good people, there's not going to be a cloak anymore on this particular group of people that can be used to wrap around them, or, in effort to keep the majority from recognizing outrightly the valiance and the value that these particular people present to the sport. There's no longer going to be any room that's going to be able to quell that. Whatever cloaks that they were using with their propaganda, with their smear campaigns, with their whatever, it's not going to be sufficient anymore. It's no longer going to be a viable option, because there is a consciousness that's happening and permeating throughout the sport as a whole. And I think I touched on that. I forgot what live we were talking about, but I was just talking about the heart and soul of something. People at the end of the day, that is what they want to sign up for. It is not the tabloid spectacle. It may capture your attention for 5 minutes, 3 weeks, or a month, but that isn't the heart that's going to keep people tuning in 10, 15 years from now. What it is what it has always been, which is the best fighting the best, and getting to that part, right? That's all the bullshit, in other words, is going to be cut out. All the cloaks, all of the, wayward perspectives, and the, tabloid frenzies, and the cheerleading contests and popularity contests, all of that will kind of fade to the background slowly. Not that it still won't exist, right? Because those things, are natural occurrences as well. We may not like them, but they happen from time to time. But I don't think it's going to be as focal in whatever cycle we will be entering from this point on. I think that the steps that we are taking now are going to lead us into that path. That's the feeling that I have, or that is what I'm hopeful for. So I think for some of our favorite fighters, it's going to be evident, to more people, how they have been stepping all of this time. So that respect will be earned, because the respect will be recognized as being deserving and having been deserving. And there's a track record for the movements of these people that's going to speak for them in ways possibly that it hasn't previously. So, yeah, that's my view about that. I think that, we're going to see that from on a more mass level, right? Because I think that for some years, there was a cloak that was accepted, because maybe in some ways, good people, this is a thought that I had as well. I think that in some ways, some of our favorite fighters, let's say, like your Devins, like your Bud Crawfords, even, right? Even with all of their successes and accomplishments, we could even throw Claressa Shields in there. I think that over the past, let's say, 5 years or so, they were still, in certain ways, even despite what they were accomplishing slowly year by year, they were still kind of like in a proving ground, right? And I think they have come up for air finally from that position and from that point. I think they are finally reaching a point of visibility where, the charades and the shrouds and the veils will no longer be effective on them, because we now have 5 or so years of a track record, where before maybe they only had a year or 3 years, behind them, to where now we have an extensive history that these people have been slowly making, all the while all the charades were going on, all the nonsensical things that were going on, all the things that were swindling our attention away from, the real step in 10 toes. All the while those people were quietly working. That's why I mentioned those moving parts, kind of like the pieces you don't see like a clock. There's an inner working that has been happening. And so, the history cannot be denied, whether you like this fighter or not, whether these fighters are publicly accepted, as darlings or not, the work will stand for itself. Kind of like, Bud is kind of like a wonderful example of that right now, because despite all of the crazy moves that man has made over the years, or what we agreed with or not from him, right? Whether he prolonged the life out of that motherfucking EJ fight being materialized, at the end of the day, he got it done, right? At the end of the day, he ventured into new territory at another weight division and got a strap at 54. Nonetheless, he even went further, to 68, and accomplished what many people found to be impossible, which was the defeating of Canelo, and also the claiming of, undisputed at a weight class that he never, got a whiff of, let alone fought in. So these types of things are in the works for me. These are the part of the moving parts that I'm referencing as examples. And I think that's going to be across the board, particularly for the elite, those that we consider elite. Okay. So they are out of that proving ground, so to speak, level. And they have finally, I think they are finally entering the level of mastery. And that mastery is what I don't think will be allowed. It's too big to try to, hide it under the carpet anymore. Okay. We've long passed that. The elite, in other words, are who they are. All right. And nothing is going to be able to cloak that moving forward. So I think that, perhaps a lot of that was due to the fact that much of the boxing world was slow to act to that greatness when they were quietly working under, behind closed doors, in the lab. Much of the boxing world, it was easy to kind of sweep it to the side, right? But it's not going to be allowable anymore. They were slow to act, many in the boxing world, because I think they were afraid to recognize the fact that these people are ardent and passionate about what they do. And these people are obviously standout fighters. There's never been a question about that. But I think people were afraid to accept them because they have been unapologetically steadfast in being the supreme within this era. They didn't give a fuck about how it looked or how you thought about it. They didn't have to be cute, case in point. Let's say what people would consider the tactlessness of Claressa Shields. None of that, for example, mattered, right? She kept her head down. She got her motherfucking gold medals. You know what I'm saying? 2-time gold medalist and all the other beautiful accomplishments that she had. It didn't matter about how things were perceived. At the end of the day, this is a woman, for example, who was only resoundingly focusing on the end goal and the claiming and ascertaining of her legacy, right? So I sit back and I wonder often, why is it that the claim for supremacy, when it comes in a form that is unapologetic, why is it approached or viewed with a sense of prejudice by onlookers? Why is there this sense of one-sidedness when it comes to spectators? When people see, this unabashed need, to express one's passion and to achieve the success and the goals that they set out to do. Why is there prejudice, right? It's not across the board that these people have this level of one-sidedness or, a level of reticence towards, somebody being unapologetic. Why is it only for certain fighters? Right? And we touched on that, a couple of times, in our discussions. It's always a question that always seems to pop up and pop up and pop up again, because I think that is, part and parcel of why we don't see a lot of fighters getting the credit within this era. Or I should say, because a lot of the credit is still being assumed and amassed. But I think that's why within this era, we don't see people being celebrated or toted up like the greats in the past were, right? There isn't that leeway given. And a lot of that is due, I mean, we can go on and on for days unraveling, and just indulging in that rabbit hole. But there is a one-sidedness in how people view. It's like people in this era are afraid to see active fighters of this era who prove themselves to be elite claim their elite status. What the fuck is up with that? It's a very curious thing to me. And honestly, you guys, as you guys know, I do not think that this is a time, or that it's ever a time for reticence in boxing. When you are a goddamn warrior, there ain't no goddamn time for no reticence. We don't need to be shy or bashful or have a level of reserve about, what it is that we are setting out to do. When you are stepping in warriorship, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to unabashedly claim your place. That just is what it is. There's no bypassing of that. I can't tiptoe and hold my little pinky up while I'm motherfucking trying to tear somebody's goddamn head off. I can't be cute while I'm trying to say I'm the best to ever do this shit. Ain't no time to be cute. So why is there this expectancy, that people kind of bow down to that mindset? Particular fighters, that is, right? Well, the actuality is that you should be impassioned by your goals. You should be impassioned by your expression in what you do. That's absolutely necessary. There's no need to apologize or to try to, make your way around softly, the tiptoeing around here. You're trying to circumvent saying or doing or being perceived of as the wrong thing when you got objectives to achieve. No, that's not expectant of everybody. So why is it expected of this particular elite Black expression when it shows up, right? And we got to be honest about that as Black boxing fans, particularly. I'm always talking to my people. You know what I'm saying? I want us to pay attention to those things. So, ladies and gentlemen, all that to say that I want to see all of these fighters that we support and resonate with own and claim and certify and stamp their own valor. I want to see that. I want to see a continuation of that. I don't ever want them cowering down from anything. I want those goals met. I want those goals attempted. It's the attempt. Sometimes it's not even necessarily the end result. It's the attempt. It's one's journey that creates one's character. The end result is just the icing on the cake or the lesson on the cake, right? But either way, the result is the result, but you get made via the route itself, the route that's taken. Step after step after step is what gives you the character and the wisdom, ladies and gentlemen, and the bravery and the courage and the valiance, brothers and sisters, right? And what you do with that afterwards is the real victory. But these people have to get made, and I don't want to see my fighters afraid of that road and of that journey. And in fact, they aren't. And that's why a lot of them have become my favorite fighters, because they show that level of passion and resolve. I think that this is the era, okay, where these fighters have to do what they do now. This is their time now. They're not living in the era of Sugar Ray Robinson. They are not living in the era of Mike Tyson. They cannot bask in what was too much. You must take the past and learn from it, but you have to, with your own hands, mold what it is that's your vision today. Facts or no? So, the claiming of one's era is absolutely paramount and imperative. They should not be out here apologizing for wanting supremacy right now. You have to do that. As a warrior, you have to do that. You cannot be meek and docile about the fact that this is your time and this is your space. There is no reticence here. You cannot have reticence. You got to be all in that bitch. No apologies. I feel like a lot of the climate always wants people to concede, always wants our elite fighters, particularly elite people, certainly who express that type of unrepentant, unrepenting, unashamed, approach to what it is that they do. They want to be some kind of kowtow in some way. Oh, don't you go claiming yourself now. Don't you go thinking you too much of the best now. This is your time. What the fuck else are you supposed to do? How many times can I call another man great? How can I see anybody else great if when I look in the mirror, I'm not saying that reflection is great? Doesn't mean you are disrespecting your forebears, your foremothers, or forefathers. It just means that you have a story to build to. Hence why I call this discussion today the build. We had a lot of great men and women, beautiful Black brothers and sisters putting their hands on this beautiful sport that we love called boxing, ladies and gentlemen. And they have built wonderful things in their time. But they could only have done it in their time. And in order to have done it in their time, they had to claim that it was theirs to be had in that time. Facts or no? Don't sit up here bringing no nonsense like these people got to, take a back seat to their own time to shine. In other words, it is the now that belongs to these fighters. And I want to see these fighters claiming that 10 toes. They have to assume that posture unrepentantly, unashamedly, in order that their turf is claimed. This is their opportunity to do that full force. And what's crazy is that some people find that problematical. Like I said, particularly when it's exhibited by the elite class, and especially the elite Black class in boxing. And we know what time that is, as I have gone over with you guys many times over. It is no coincidence, beautiful people, that this elite happened to be a class of people or a sect of people who have no care whatever for assuaging the masses or for mollifying the perceptions of the broader public. They have no interest in that, ladies and gentlemen. Their sole focus and objective is the building of themselves, the building and continuing on of the foundations that were laid for them. That's where their mindset rests. It's not about looking cute. It's about getting the work done and doing it well. There is and will always be a synthesis, process of synthesis, ladies and gentlemen. And what I mean by that is like a fusion. There's always going to be a fusion of the eras, right? The past will always blend into the present. The present will always blend into the future. There's a constant synthesis happen, a constant confluence, if you will, between the eras. That's what makes boxing beautiful. That's one of the things that makes boxing beautiful, is the implementations that get passed on from lessons of the past, allowing new interpretations of that past to transpire into the present, right? But eras are stamped and procured by the current life, the fresh hands of today. The people of today must claim that and name it. They have to form it. They have to carve it and say, this is how it's going to work for me now. And I know that via these lessons then, right? Every man and every woman has their season, has their era, and they have to translate that as best they can and express that how they intend to carry it out, how they intend to carry the sport forward. Now, I just wanted to set the table on that because I think it's very important. Salute to the richest one. I see you. Not Pastor Mars, oh my goodness. Salute to the King Rich in the building. I wanted to set the table on that. I found that to be an imperative, because I think it's a weird thing, like I said earlier, that, people feel like you should not be claiming that, as a fighter. You have no right to do that. You got to kind of sit back and just hope that somebody, finds you and pat you on the head and give you, a congratulatory remark or something like that. Fuck that shit. Give it to yourself. Go get it, whatever that is. You know what I mean? That's the type of time I've been on lately. But anywho, like I said, beautiful brothers and sisters, I was not actually going to go into this particular subject, but I felt like I gave a little synopsis last week or the week before, whatever live that was, and we talked kind of touchingly about it, sparingly about it, the Claressa Shields, Laila Ali situation. But I definitely wanted to divulge some aspects because at that time when we did that live, there was no response videos or anything like that made, so I just kind of touched on it a little bit and went my own way. I didn't really put any weight on it, simply because I don't like the gossip aspect. But when I sat down with this and I took it outside of the realm of gossip and kind of just looked at some poignant aspects of this whole back and forth, if you will, I found it to be of central importance to give, my honest take, my way, right? And what I found was, in looking at this, one of the things that I found to be interesting was how easy it can be to allow for the undermining of the process of unfolding in one's era. That's why that's why I wanted to centralize the concept of era, because that's essentially what I want people to claim in all of the fighters, Devin, Abdullah Mason, your Bud Crawfords. I want them, Claressa. I want everybody to claim that era. So there's that aspect of the era. But in the case of Claressa and Ali, there's a conflict of eras, if you will, right? So that era is a clash of eras and an understanding of eras and how to, impose upon one's era. There's a problem with Claressa imposing her supremacy within her era, and I don't understand why, when Laila was absolutely allowed to claim with both hands her era, right? She had no interruption doing that. I mean, of course, except her contemporaries, of course, right? Who thought that they were the best of their time, but that's natural. You're supposed to do that. But there was nobody impeding upon Laila's growth or her supremacy, so that now Claressa Shields is in her era, and there's this imposition coming from the previous era that somehow does not, for whatever reason or another, want her supremacy to be exemplified, right? So I'm kind of coming more so from that angle. Wanted to take the gossip out of it. You guys know I don't give a fuck about no goddamn tabloid hoe ass gossip. I just don't do that chatty patty shit. But I'm looking at it from this juncture, and I wanted to discuss it with the good family. Yeah, so I find that the folly that was underway between them, all the drama and stuff like that, really what it evinced for me was how stifling some perspectives can be about the idea of eras, the idea of an era that's being claimed in the hands of today's bold, in today's ardent, in today's steadfast contemporary fighters, right? Thank you, Coach Hudson. I appreciate you, King, right? Because I'm trying to cook a good meal for the good family today. Salute to my comrade. So what was also events for me in this situation, brothers and sisters, was the fact that, let's see how I want to say this. What was interesting was that I think that if you are unfit to walk through fire, it does not matter what era you find yourself in, ladies and gentlemen. The real in the building are not going to back down from smoke, period. I don't goddamn care what time of goddamn day it is, what goddamn era you put somebody in, nothing. The real is, they're not going to back down from the smoke, especially when they put out a smoke signal themselves. Don't put the don't put the motherfucking back signal out, in other words. If you don't want Batman swooping goddamn in through the back door, don't put out the goddamn bat signal. If you don't want me motherfucking, swinging through this goddamn window and motherfucking knocking your ass out, that's just as blatant as I can make it, right? So, I saw a level of duckery here, you guys. This is another interesting thing. because ultimately this is the result of that whole charade and debacle and spectacle, was ducking. That's what the fucking result was after all that goddamn whoopla and rah-rah, and it's just duckery. I saw a level of duckery from Laila that I was left absolutely astounded. I was not expecting that. Not after all the big shit that was spoken. It's crazy to me. And what was also interesting was how, for some odd and strange reason, people had been flooding in to cassette and protect the blatant cowardice and timorousness, the heartlessness that she exhibited at the end of all of that. All of that. To want no smoke whatsoever with Claressa Shields. Oh, I ain't gonna fight you, girl. Yeah, no, child. Don't you know I'm turning 48 years old? Don't you know I got this pie in the goddamn oven? I'm over here frying some chicken, child. I can't be fighting you. What the fuck you was calling on? What were you calling my name for then? Why you was telling me the proposed amount that you wanted in order to get you out of bed? If you don't want no problems, are you going to be calling for problems with somebody? How the fuck does that work, ladies and gentlemen? I just didn't understand it. And I have to be honest about that. You know what I mean? I just found that to be absolutely strange. Heartless behavior. How after all of that. And you know what? Also, brothers and sisters, let me also posit this. In no other time and with no other fighter in boxing would we ever sit back as a collective in boxing and accept that outcome when all the shit in the world was being popped, only for you to not, any other goddamn time a fighter exhibits a fraction of that, we are instantly, unrelentingly calling them a fucking duck. There's no waste made of the time in calling people a duck when we see a fraction of that nonsense happen. This woman goddamn backed down. Like, it was crazy to me that she was allowed to, they got people jumping in trying to save her. Oh, well, she's a mother. She's married now. That's a married woman. Was she worried about her goddamn kids and her husband? When she was telling the world that she could beat Claressa's ass for the past 5 years? Was she worried about her husband? When she motherfucking said, go get me that 15 million? I don't think so. She definitely wasn't thinking about her husband when she was popping shit on her goddamn cooking channel. So don't tell me about no goddamn husband and no damn kids. I don't want to hear it. You call for the smoke, smoke is here. What's popping? I just don't play with stuff like that. So I absolutely feel Claressa. Claressa's a warrior, ladies and gentlemen. She's an absolute warrior. I'm an active fighter, baby. You ain't got to say too much to me to get me hot. I'm here. This is what I do. You want to fight? Let's set this up. Don't say my name if you don't want those problems. Everybody know what time Claressa's on. And it's the time that every fighter in boxing should be on. But unfortunately, they are few and far between like her. But thankfully, we got somebody with the fortitude that she does. But yes, she is on that time. You're not going to be doing too much bopping up your gums when you're talking about this woman. You know that. She's going to do a little bit of back and forth with you. Yeah, but at some point, she's going to get to the motherfucking center of it. She's going to get to the heart of the matter and say, what's popping? I don't do all this talking. We done talked enough. Where the fuck do we set this up at? You know she's going to come with that because she is a warrior. There's no point in talking. Where the fuck do we sign? You want the money? Claressa went out there and got 15 million goddamn dollars, ladies and gentlemen. No more talking. Only for this woman to turn around and say, oh, well, what I had said was, what I had really had meant by that had been was, see, look here now. I said that the thought, if you wanted me to conceptualize a dream, if you wanted me to ruminate overnight about it a little bit and perhaps maybe think about it and get a vision from Jesus, that I would possibly fight you maybe one day on the third Wednesday, 3 years down the line from now, maybe. Like what? It's just absolute inanity to me. Inanity to me. I'm just going to say this, and this is my view. I know you can run the gamut on the perspectives out here about this, but in my view, ladies and gentlemen, Laila Ali cannot compete with, cannot beat, or bring any level of smoke to Claressa the Quote Shields in that ring. It's not fucking happening. Let's just call it the fuck like it is, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have no ounce of goddamn preciousness for no damn Laila Ali to where I cannot speak, forthrightly. Has she carved out a lane of her own in her day? Was she the most premier and standout female boxer in her time in the in the 90s or whatever? Absolutely. But even her reign and her run in her day was motherfucking questionable. She never proved her supremacy in her era. So why the fuck are you looking at Claressa, who is claiming every level of supremacy that she can on every level? Why can't she claim hers? Ali chose to sit on her ass and avoid as best she can Ann Wolf. Refused, evaded, circumvented all around that goddamn woman. Like that was fucking Freddy Krueger, like the goddamn boogeyman under her bed, shaking in her goddamn boots anytime somebody brought up goddamn Ann Wolf. She had the time to really be supreme in her era. And she chose not to. She got a whole bunch of accreditation, though, a whole bunch of accolades, a whole bunch of respect, I guess, to, as far as the public's, exaltation of her and whatever have you. And it is what it is, right? Poster child of women's boxing. She deserves, her, accreditation and stuff like that. The ones that she has earned, I guess, right? But this is Quote's era now, baby girl. You in her time. You on her turf. Watch your mouth. Okay? There's no talking reckless over here. I think it's precisely because she cannot beat her. Would not even dream of beating her, as she obviously proved that she had no intentions of actually going through with. She had no intention of actually going through with it. So, but she used the castigating. She resorted to lambasting and detracting and disavowing Claressa Shields via all types of pointless gossip, pointless internet banter. You can't beat her in a ring. So what do? You go ahead and go disavow her publicly. Pointlessly. Nobody was calling or checking for no goddamn Laila Ali. Nobody was looking for her goddamn cooking channel. Nobody was asking for her goddamn fried chicken recipe or none of that shit. Until she haul ass and yelling to the top of the mountain for Claressa Shields. Only for Claressa to come and you motherfuckers, turn ghost. Casper the ghost. Oh, I don't want no smoke with you now. What? Why the fuck are we sparing her being called the clout chaser? Not we, because the good people know what time it is. But, the many that I've come across social media, running into Cosette and coddle this woman, protect her, jump in front of all types of bullets. Excuse me, anybody else would have been fried for doing some dumb shit like that. Any other fighter would have been fried ASAP for this shit. If that's not motherfucking cowardice, I don't know what the hell is. Cowardice is cowardice. I don't give a fuck if she got a pretty face or if she speaks articulately. You a fucking duck. You bop all them gums only for you to turn around and tuck your tail. That's what she did after all of that. And for damn near a decade, she's been popping all types of shit. This woman, Laila, has been finding ways to feed her own petrified sense of relevance over the years. Petrified. She's been looking for any semblance of relevance that she could attain and amass for herself over the past few years by way of attaching herself to Claressa's name. And it is what it is. Like, if it started there, it's one thing. But goddamn. I mean, what do you think Claressa's actually going to do? What would anybody do if they keep hearing whispers of their goddamn name every time they turn around from the same person, clucking like a fucking chicken? Well, what do you want, ma'am? Am I supposed to sit here and not address you? We're not in your era. What's the point of you telling me, oh, in my day I would have. Bitch, we ain't in your fucking day. You're in my day. What's popping? I can't rewind back 25 fucking years and go fight you. But since you talking big and popping your, all that shit, fight me in my day. Because you on my turf. What's good? Turns out bitch don't want no motherfucking smoke. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? Making all types of references about, oh, I beat you up. I beat her up in a fight chat. And I would knock her out. She is so tactless. Oh my God, Claressa, she is so untalented. The girl's an amateur. Do you know she's an amateur? Wet behind the ears. She's still snot nosed. This is a little girl. Just try, doing everything to, that she can think of to try to little girl, lessen, diminish the womanhood, the stature, and accreditation of Claressa Shields. It's just weird. All right? The back and forth between these women over the years, for some reason, has just been, for whatever reason that it had been. But right now, she is the one, like I said, who put the bat signal out yet again. And when she gets a response, when Claressa show up with a fucking cape on, like, dun 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 dun, smoke is here. Smoke has a 5, baby. What you want? The smoke came. Now you want to go hide in a goddamn, under a bed somewhere. No. Also interesting, you guys, that I was pulling out from this situation is the fact of the question that I posed, which was, what has Laila done in the past, let's say 10 years, 5 years in the sport of boxing that had any measure of significance whatsoever or relevance whatsoever outside of the context of Claressa's name? What has this woman done? Can anybody think of anything that this woman has been associated with prominently outside of the mentioning of Claressa Shields? You let me know. What has she done significantly or newsworthy that had nothing to do with mentioning Claressa's name or disavowing her name in one way or another? Absolutely nothing is the answer. All right? Can anybody attest to any headline or imprint made by this woman outside of talking about Claressa Shields? Absolutely not is the answer. Okay? Have we seen her at, I don't know, all these types of, did she go to a Michaela Mayer boxing match? Yes, you feel what I'm saying? Let's say over the past 5 years, right? Recently, we saw her the other day in a picture with Amanda Serrano. I'm talking about over the past 5 years, while all of this heat was being generated, right? She's had no significance whatever, ladies and gentlemen. You tell me how many videos are being made or how many conversations are being had with the fucking recent picture she took with Amanda Serrano. Anybody talking about that? Because nobody gives a fuck. But all the world is bubbling over about Claressa Shields. She know what the fuck time it is. She got a new goddamn sweet potato pie recipe she's going to put out. So she screamed Claressa's name to the goddamn top of her lungs, and here go all the cameras. Here go all the media surrounding her conveniently. Bitch got a motherfucking picture with Amanda Serrano, crickets, everywhere. Nothing but crickets. Nobody checking for it. How many people even knew that she had a picture going on that Amanda Serrano posted on Twitter with her and Laila? Ain't nobody give a damn about that. Has she even been promoting women's boxing, ladies and gentlemen, for the past decade? I mean, in a meaningful, significant, visible way? No. No, she's made no mark. Only mark she made was the lambasting of Claressa's name. That's where she has the eyes gearing towards her at, specifically when it comes to the smearing, and the slighting of Claressa, which is very unfortunate to say, right? I just don't get that, right? She's on the Breakfast Club. She's on Sway in the Morning over the years. We've seen those clips, right? Even outside of the context of, the clips that she put together, or the clips that Claressa put together as their receipts, as they called it, right? We've seen those things as they were happening. That's the only time we saw her ass on camera was in those situations talking about Claressa, right? And even when, let's say, she was doing a commentary thing here or there, what she's doing, talking about goddamn Claressa, right? It's insane. And I'm sitting back and I'm looking at that like, yo, like, I don't see the worth or the value in it at all. Absolutely not. I don't see any worth or any value in her approach to that particular type of situation. She hasn't done anything meaningful or significant for women's boxing since retiring. She hasn't made a mark. She hasn't, become a coach. She hasn't, nothing. Right. And I guess, to each their own, right? If she has a family, let's say she doesn't want to really, immerse herself in the boxing life anymore. She wants to just, solely focus on her own creative ventures or whatever. That's all good. That's not to say she has to be, she has to, give her complete life to boxing after retiring, But, if you're not going to be contributing to the path of Claressa Shields, keep her fucking name out your mouth and keep your motherfucking opinions to yourself. That's just how I think about it. It's just crazy to me. You're not going to be contributing anything to that woman's path. Why is she so constantly, on your mind? You have to get in front of a camera. It is absolutely clout chasing. And we don't need to be sugarcoating the fact of what it is. Because like I said, in any other instance, somebody else would be, we've seen people goddamn call clout chasers for less. We see people, we see motherfucking Purple Pain Davis fans, call Devin Haney a goddamn clout chaser because he got gold in his mouth. Like fucking Tank Davis is the only man to ever wear motherfucking gold teeth or diamond teeth or something like that. We've seen people call clout chasers for way less, adamantly, vehemently, and just nonstop. Meanwhile, people are scared and tiptoeing around calling goddamn Laila Ali a goddamn, duck and a clout chaser. What is going on? What is this? No, we're not sparing you. This is what you put the fuck out. This is what the fuck you're going to get. Period. Right? The reality is that she has been tapping into that sneak dissing bag of Claressa Shields, all the while. And Claressa, of course she's going to respond to that. Of course. Don't sit up there trying to little girl somebody and act like, oh, you're young, know your place. Don't say shit back to me. Excuse me? How fucking dare you? Claressa Shields is a grown woman. A grown ass woman. People out here thinking this woman should bow her head to another motherfucking grown woman talking out of turn. I don't give a fuck what she did or who her daddy is. Watch your mouth. I'll be goddamned. Any bitch thinks she gonna step to me talking crazy. I don't care what her lineage is. You out of your goddamn mind. That's not how it works, ladies and gentlemen. This woman hasn't at any time addressed Claressa Shields as a grown woman. She's always trying to, little girl her. Like, oh, I tapped her on the head, or I gave you your first interview. Basically, it's because of me that you had received media attention or acclaim or something like that, which is absolutely farcical and the furthest thing from the truth. Claressa Shields was going to be a two-time medalist. That was her path. That didn't have nothing to do with you. That's God's calling for that woman. That's her hard work that earned her undisputed in multiple weight classes. That's her that earned her championship. That's not your path, Laila Ali. You didn't do shit for no fucking Claressa. Why does this woman on a high horse like she did something for Claressa Shields? What the fuck did she do? That people have this posture that Claressa owes her something. She don't owe this woman nothing. That bitch ain't nothing but another motherfucking grown woman just like me. Bow my head to what? To what? You know, you'd be astounded by some of the things I've come across, as I'm sure many of you have who've been keeping up with this. You know, the mindset and the rhetoric that's just going around that people have. You know, she's supposed to cower her head. That's why I was stressing the importance of the era and the claiming of supremacy and the fear that people have developed for whatever creepy ass, stupid ass reason of people within this era claiming theirs. She should be calling herself the GOAT. This is her time. You name me one other woman stepping the way she's stepping and achieving the things that she's achieved. I'll wait. Nobody. Yes, she is the GOAT. You give a fuck how people feel about that. This is her time. She's earned that. You don't want her to bask in that shit. You know, same thing with people, being afraid, the reticence that people had, about, calling Crawford the greatest of his era. Some people still got fucking in a way over him on their pound for pounds, which is disgusting work. This is the same mindset and mentality, people. They don't want the elite black athlete to express its supremacy. You got to be second best even to your own achievements. No, that's not how this works. Right? So Claressa has nothing to prove to this woman, right? She hasn't, tried to, approach Claressa Shields on some grown woman time. It's petty. I don't give a goddamn whose daughter you are, like you said. You can get put in the dirt quick fast over here. Yes. Oh, absolutely. I don't know if it's people got fucked up because they see women. Trust me, good brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? A warrior is a warrior. Don't get caught up because these looking at two females. These are women. These are warriors. One is a retired warrior. One is an active warrior. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't put the hands on people. They don't got the hands put on them. This is what they do. Don't try to jump in and save these women like they, we just need to protect these girls here. Don't you get too rah-rah now you're here. No, your ass gonna get put in just like a motherfucker, a nigga will put a motherfucker in the dirt for talking and stepping crazy. Same thing over here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if the brothers may be deluded or some women out here thinking, you got to act like the fucking Queen of England. Ain't no fucking Queen of England when you talking crazy to a real one. I will zip you the fuck up, period. I just, I don't know what, are people deluded out here that think, you're supposed to act like Cinderella, fucking, I don't know, a princess some goddamn where? No. You're going to get checked. Absolutely. And especially it's going to be the case when these women are, competitive by nature as athletes and as fighters. I'm going to put your ass in the dirt, period. When that warrior time is going on in here. You know what I'm saying? That's you don't have to be an athlete to be on that type of time. You're not going to let nobody disrespect you. I mean, if you a simp, you will. Who the fuck are you thinking you're going to allow walk to you and talk crazy to you? Just as regular ass people. Y'all ain't trying to have that, the real ones in the building at least. Real ones going to be like, what? Excuse you? No, it's not happening. So, people's, surprise and astonishment with how Claressa Shields is acting and responding, or has acted and responded, which was only a natural response to me, in my view, over the years, even up until this point, with dismay at some of the things that she's been hearing, or just the fact in the reality that, somebody, is publicly making these types of snide comments about them, and stuff like that. It's like, no, I'm going to say something snide about you. Now, when you want to fight, which is what Claressa's whole objective was at the end of the day was. Say what you want. Claressa Shields tried to get the talking to cease, ladies and gentlemen. She says, all right, the talking was cute. I've been talking back and forth with you on Twitter. I've been listening to your fucking side comments and all of the little, lambasting that you have been doing over the years. Yes, I called your ass out too. No, I don't like you. You know what I'm saying? These are the reasons why. Okay, we done did all that motherfucking banter. What the fuck you want to do? What you want to do? Because we done did the talking now. Let's elevate. I like to evolve. Where you trying to meet me? This is Claressa Shields. Right? Only to be absolutely let down with nothing but sheer cowardice. Cowardice from Laila Ali. After all that talking, you guys, I just can't wrap my mind around that. That's the ducking that is appalling to me. It's absolutely revolting to me. You know, you're not too precious, ma'am, that you can't get hands and feet put on you. Not with all the talking you've been doing. No, you earned these hands and feet that I'm about to put. You earned every bit of these hands and goddamn feet. Oh yeah, you won't get all of this. You don't do all that crazy talking and think that it's not gonna escalate when you're dealing with a real person. You're bugging. And it's crazy for people to think that that wouldn't be the response, because what a lot of people get caught up in this era these days, ladies and gentlemen, is that so many people out here talking crazy and reckless on the internet. And because they are safe, they feel safe behind their keyboards. And this is like the internet era, internet bully, internet gangster era, right? So this is why there's this upheaval that Claressa isn't just sitting behind her fucking keyboard. She went out to go get the 15 goddamn million and said, "What's cracking?" They're not used to action. They're not used to follow through. So Claressa astounds them. Oh, well, why she want to take it there? Or she's being a bully. Why is she bullying Laila? Because these fucking simping ass cowards had no intention, to see Laila follow it through, because they're cowards too. Fucking cowards themselves. You know what I'm saying? This woman's sitting around here bopping her goddamn gums because she feels like she's on some type of high horse and safe and protected. That's why she's so, she can be callous on camera. Because she knew she had no intention whatsoever on taking that 15 million that she asked for and actually putting a finality to this nonsense. Crazy work. Absolutely crazy work to me. I ran out of competition, you guys. That's why I retired. Excuse me? Like I said, as if Ann Wolf wasn't standing to your motherfucking left and right, calling for you. Unrelentingly. I want Ali. Yeah, the fight with Ali. And you ducked. Just like a goddamn Teofimo Lopez, just like your goddamn Hitchens ducking Matias, and all these other duckery, forms of duckery that we have been seeing out here. This was your Laila. That was your Laila in her day. Ducking. And she ain't changed much, because here she is once again ducking the quote. Let's keep it a G, y'all. Keep it a fucking buck. She's ducked. That's it. She ducked blatantly. There is no getting around that. There is no way to surmount that. Right? She ducked because she knew that she would be put in a box by that woman, Claressa Shields. Fuck out of here with the nonsense. Only thing that woman ran out of, she didn't run out of competition in her day. She ran out of fucking heart. She had no heart to face Ann Wolf in that time, right? And apparently, maybe she never had it, because it's being exemplified, that heartlessness, once again. Because Claressa went and got that money. Yes, I'm going to keep stressing it. She went and got that money and said, "What's good?" And she ducked. That's the reality. Oh, I said I'll think about it. Saying I'll think about it and doing it is two different things. You know, heard this woman on that goddamn goddamn whatever the fuck that was, Receipts documentary or whatever the hell you want to call it. Absolute asininity. Oh, I'm not gonna fight you. I ain't gonna reward you with a fight, Claressa. Reward? Bitch, you've been hiding in your motherfucking coffin for 25,000 years. Ain't nobody goddamn checking for you. How you gonna reward me? Niggas ain't thinking about you. People are barely talking about your fucking macaroni and cheese recipe, bitch. What you talking about? Reward me. Reward me with what? I got a whole movie made about me. You know what I'm saying? I'm undisputed. I can't even count how many times undisputed I am. and how I'm moving the sport forward for women's boxing in viewership, in earnings, etc. Excuse me? No. You're tying and associating yourself to my name in my era. You don't reward me. I've rewarded you by entertaining you. Because you can easily haul ass and climb back into that coffin filled with all types of goddamn spider webs and everything else that you've been living in. Child, anybody checking for you? You know, you collecting dust. Nobody's checking for you. Or your fucking pancakes. It's absolutely crazy to me, you guys. It's insane. Absolutely insane to me. I'm just astounded. I'm sitting back in my mind drawing, blanks like, what? No, this is not how we do things. You're a duck, a wobbling, stumbling duck. Fuck out of here. Ain't no need to sugarcoat that shit. You know what I mean? You ducked. I go and get this bread that you claimed that you wanted to get you wet. 15 million is going to get me wet. Oh, give me 15 million. That gets me wet. That's what gets me out of bed, child. She gonna get the goddamn 50 million and all of a sudden you hauling ass out the goddamn room. What? Fucking coward. No, we're not gonna play like, we don't see what's happening or what had happened. That's absolute duckery, absolute blatant cowardice. That's exactly why you need to keep your mouth shut. If you don't want those problems, why are you talking crazy? If you're almost 48 years old and a retired fighter, why the fuck are you doing all that big dog talk? Go goddamn bake a pie for your husband, man. Nobody called her away from her stove. Who the fuck called Laila Ali away from her stove in the first place? Bitch, you stepped out on your goddamn porch with the apron on, talking all like goddamn rah-rah. Now you surprised that I show up here answering the smoke call. Nobody was fucking checking for you. You could have kept frying your goddamn chicken, your buttermilk biscuits. You know what I'm saying? The motherfucking turkey pie, whatever the fuck it's called, made her I don't know. She just lost her mind. Baked macaroni done set this woman off on a tangent. She's like, oh, this macaroni is so good. Let me go try to fight Claressa Shields, knowing I can't do shit with that woman. It's just weird as hell to me, you guys. Absolutely diabolical to me. And the goal of Laila, at that particular point, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with this point, the goal of Laila to have insinuated that Claressa Shields is somehow a disappointment to Black culture, to our culture, as she said. How fucking dare this woman say something so crazy and just asinine as that? This portion was one of the most poignant moments that Claressa had shed light on in her response video, about how Laila basically showed a whole entirely new level of cowardice via her, afraid, her being afraid to take a stance, particularly on Black issues, right? As it pertained to Black representation and, matters of lending a voice and some visibility to, Black centered issues, societal issues concerning Black people. So, what's so ironic about that is that she would even attempt to posit such a thing when she is the only person, according to that clip, who has been afraid, of standing behind Black causes. Claressa, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the things that I love about this woman is that she is absolutely unapologetically pro-Black. Pro-Black, 10 toes down. No questions needed at all times. She's standing with her culture. She's standing with her people, period, whether you like it or not. That's just how she's stepping. Okay? Now, in her video, she showed that she was in support, her Black Lives Matter advocacy, but that isn't the beginning and end of where her, claiming and representation and respect and support for her culture ends. Claressa Shields has been doing what? Wearing her hair blue in solidarity and support of her people back home in Flint for I don't know how many years, countless years, in representation of the struggles and the water crisis that was happening and that I believe is still ongoing in her native Detroit. Okay, hair blue for her people, to show the struggles that her people are still going through over there in Flint with that water crisis. Claressa, she didn't need the Black Lives Matter advocacy to show some support. She has her own causes that she's 10 toes with. Okay. Her having, let's say, the Black National Anthem sung at her last event instead of just having the regular, anthem sung. She had the Black National Anthem sung for her fight. Is also proof of that. Things like this. This is not new to her, right? Her calling out, let's say, the blatant and disgusting moves of that filthy racist Ryan Garcia during that scandal with Devin Haney last year is another example of this. She was one of the only people to speak out on that man's cowardice, unapologetically about his drug cheating when everybody else was tiptoeing reticently around speaking about it publicly. Everybody's got the no comment approach. Claressa's like, no, this motherfucker is a drug cheat and he's a racist. Did you hear what he said? This is Ressa. One of the only fighters. There was probably no more than 3. And real talk, I could only think of 2, which was Claressa Shields and Caleb Plant at that particular time in the thick of things. Perhaps over time, like we saw David Benavidez recently posit his views, about, being honest about drug cheating and Ryan Garcia. But that's a whole fucking year and a half later. Because he wasn't nowhere to be found when that shit was actually happening in real time. At least not publicly, he had made no statements, right? Even though he probably always disagreed and always felt the way that he recently expressed. But like I said, Claressa Shields was one of the premier and prominent voices. One of the only who said anything towards that scandal at that time in real time. And called it out for what it was. While everybody else was glazing on their goddamn knees, calling Ryan pretty. Okay? Let's not be forgetful. Let's not be selective with the amnesia. This is Claressa, ladies and gentlemen. Don't talk to me about standing 10 toes and repping her people. Claressa is one of, like I said, maybe 2 or 3, she's, one of one other one who was calling out that issue of that racist coward for all of the culturally derogatory, disparaging, and inflammatory remarks that man was saying at that time. Same thing with Teofimo. Where the fuck was Laila at that time? Was she around when Ryan Garcia said he wanted to unalive George Floyd again so he can bury him again? You tell me what interview she was doing at that time surrounding that. That wasn't going to bring eyes to her motherfucking sweet potato pie, I guess. So it wasn't worth mentioning, perhaps. Real talk, where the hell was 98% of the boxing world at that time, like I said? Right? Because I know that Claressa was absolutely, sure enough, on the front lines by herself, speaking out against that debauchery. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields in that in her receipts basically clapback video that she made, Claressa in her response, showed a clip of Laila Ali just absolutely fucking simping and cooning her goddamn ass off. Like, I was just like, what? She's scared to post anything related to Black content, Black social justice issues, anything pertaining or perceived of, in a way that can come off as too Black on her own fucking social media page. Her own page. She's scared to post shit, concerning Black people in fear that it will be perceived of as too pro-Black. This is what she said. This is a quote, ladies and gentlemen, of Laila Ali on that particular issue. She says, "Oh, you're Black, but we as Black people are not the ones calling the shots. We're not in charge. You have to fit in. You have to conform to a certain extent, but still try to be true to yourself. But at the same time, like with me, for example, a lot of the times, there's posts that I like that I see that are very pro-Black. But I won't post it on my page because I have fans from all races around the world. And I don't ever like to make people feel separate, And sometimes they do when you just be like, Black power, I love my people, So it's like, I like the all lives matter, All lives matter, you know? That's kind of what my focus is. But it's hard, you know, because you've got sponsors, you've got this, you've got that, and you don't want to step on anybody's toes. End quote. Ladies and gentlemen, the fuck? Okay? Let's keep it real, good people. If that's not the most heartless, tap dancing ass, sucker ass mentality and disposition that any Black person or any particularly Black public figure can take on and make a public statement on, I don't know what is. This is the epitome, brothers and sisters, in our culture of what not to adapt. That's the last thing you want to say and be caught saying, people. We know how it is. Ain't no Black people trying to hear that. You will get masses of Black people, even the people who don't necessarily label themselves, quote unquote, you know, conscious or woke or whatever. There is a thing culturally that we have as Black people that is just a no. That's a resounding no in our culture. We know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? In other words, she, in that statement, did not want to go around upsetting white people. I'm going to translate what that meant. She didn't want to go upsetting white folk and hurting their feelings by posting a representation of herself, her history, and things tied to the struggle of her people, because it's going to hurt the feelings of white people. Oh, we don't want to be calling, you know, being associated as, you know, being too Black or pro-Black now. I got to be colorless because I am color blind. I got people of all races now, you hear? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? You having races of all people follow your work and respect and admire your work. That means you have to erase yourself? Having other people around the world respect what you have done, whatever that may be, means that you have to negate your identity? You make that make sense. But this is the mindset that she has, and unfortunately, quite a few people have. Okay? Especially prominently, you know, postured people who have amassed a certain level of notability and visibility and success. This is the mindset that she put out there, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely revolting and appalling. She does not want to go around upsetting or hurting the feelings of white people. Because, you know, you can't actually make up your own mind to be yourself without absolutely apologizing for it, without having the permission. It has to be seen as permissible in order for you to accept yourself unapologetically. If you actually embrace your people, if you actually embrace your roots, if you actually embrace your culture, the struggles of your people publicly, oh, you might go offending them good old white people now, you hear? And we can't have that, right? We can't have getting too comfortable with accepting and standing 10 toes with our Black lives that matter. Let's not get too comfortable, in other words, right? Don't say that my life matters. As a Black person, you can't acknowledge that your life matters without first having to bow your head down. First, that every other life does before yours. How dare you acknowledge your own? Right? Even though no other group on earth, brothers and sisters, thinks for even a second to bow their heads down in shame of the expression of their own culture, their own roots, and the own history of their people. Whether the world approves of it or not, they do not hesitate to celebrate that which is theirs. And they don't even bat an eye at the thought of doing it because, I don't know, perhaps you may not like it as a Black person. So why the fuck should you concern yourself with what anybody else thinks about your existence, about your makeup, about your lineage? about your heritage as an African-centered person in existence today. They are not going to make concessions for you, Black man and woman. How dare this woman get up there and say something so vile? Vile. Yeah, all those other fans, those other quote unquote fans that you have all around the world ain't gonna bat an eye at the thought of making a post or whether they should make a post in celebration of their history. They ain't gonna think about you, Black man, Black woman, when they're gonna celebrate their Jewish history, when they're gonna celebrate their Mexican history, when they're gonna celebrate their Italian history, Arabic history, or any other history. Greek history, wherever it is that you want to go, they're gonna think twice. Oh, what will the Black person think? This is gonna offend them. Let me not be myself now. You hear? You will not be extended the same courtesy. No omissions will be made for you on your behalf when it comes to how they consider or how they represent themselves on social media or otherwise. Won't bat an eye at it, not even for a millisecond. This is the most sucker shit ever, ladies and gentlemen, and it was disgusting to behold. Right? Was this woman's father not screaming, Black Lives Matter in his day? Was the great GOAT, Muhammad Ali, reticent about the fact that he found Black lives to matter and be central in his life? Was he hesitant when he was speaking up for our people? Was he afraid to single out our struggle as Black people, African-centered people? Diasporically? No, he was not. He was not afraid to focus in on Black struggles, Black morality, Black principles, Black history, the marginalization of our people and of our culture historically in this country. He was not afraid to do that. He aligned with causes that highlighted that because it was of importance to him that his people be respected, the people that he comes from. Let's stop the bullshit. He spoke on the disparaging social injustices, police brutality, public lynchings, the murdering of our beautiful boys and girls and our beautiful men and women. He did not cower from that. He stood 10 toes in it and said, what's popping? Meet me on this type of time. If you ain't talking about this, you ain't talking nothing. That's Ali in his prime and in the prime of his activism and consciousness. And he made no apologies for that. That is why he is the greatest of all time. He supersedes every era because of his pro-Black, unapologetic stance. Brothers and sisters, it was because of that the world grew to love and respect and admire this man and emulate that man to this day on my Wilder Voice. To this day. That's why he is the GOAT of all GOATs. It was not because he was reticent or cowardly or expressed a level of timorousness. He was 10 toes in it. This is the man that spoke out against war. He refused to go inflict harm and damage and pillage the nations of other Black and brown people across the world. He refused military participation that would have him go and rape and pillage other lands of Black and brown people elsewhere. Why am I going to go over there and fight and kill people who look just like me only to come back to my own goddamn nation and be treated worse than a fucking pet dog? That's Ali. What an absolute disgrace to hear that woman sit there and say that nonsense on that platform at that particular time. She absolutely is better off going to make a pie some goddamn where. Let the real ones in the building worry about the stepping. The real ones will stand 10 toes with the stepping. Go ahead and go fry me some fucking chicken and shut the fuck up. The pump faking is ridiculous because that's absolutely what that was, pump faking. She wants no smoke, you know what I mean? And she tried to disavow, and tried to basically single out, call out Claressa because she's trying to say Claressa has no tact, she has no class. You're a bad representation of whatever. You tell me when Claressa Shields was ever arrested, ladies and gentlemen. Where the fuck is a mugshot of Claressa Shields? When the fuck did Claressa Shields pop dirty? When Claressa Shields isn't talking about the next generation of girls behind her, young girls who may aspire to have the, a level of athletic prowess and success in the sport of boxing and otherwise, even young boys. When is she not expressing concern of the youth coming up behind and leaving an example for women to receive, substantial pay, historically high pays? What the fuck you talking about? She's a bad representation of our culture. It's disgusting. And it makes no sense to even attempt, to swindle in this type of logic into the conversation simply because you have a fucking channel to promote. How dare this woman? How dare you? All of this, I would have at least given her half of a pass for, not a whole pass, because I don't like the way that she's talking. But she would have at least got a half of a fucking pass if she actually followed through to fight that woman after all that nonsense and disavowing that she has been doing publicly. At least fucking get the smoke popping. You didn't even do that. But you fucking pumping your chest out, poking your goddamn chest out, like you want some type of smoke time, some type of demon time. Go have several seats, ma'am, with your 48-year-old ass. Like you said, oh, I'm 48 years old. Gotta go knit me a fucking sweater and get out my damn face. Anyway, that's how I feel about that situation. I figured that I'd give it, as raw as I goddamn can, ladies and gentlemen, because I really did skate around it that last couple of lives ago. If you guys didn't notice, I really focused on Claressa Shields and Tank Davis, right? Until I was asked questions about what I felt about the whole, Laila Ali situation. I was hot and heavy, and I kind of left it there and went on about my way. But today I really wanted to, sit on that thing. You know what I mean? So I just had to keep it a buck about that and observing all of this and, allowing myself to tap into it across social media. I just found it absolutely, full of asininity and pointlessness, only to, come to the lackluster conclusion that you're not even going to get in there and get the beats, put on you. And you're not even going to attempt to try to put the beats on that woman after all that damn talking. It's crazy work. Let me check in with the good family, you guys. I know I have been going for a long time. There is another couple of subjects I wanted to touch on before we end. Salute to the good family. Salute to the king Uncommon. I see you. He says, salute to the warrior queen. The fuck versus everybody. Smash that like button. Salute to the great Mike in the building. I see the great Mike. Infinite love. Salute to the king Caldwell in the building. Caldwell, he is the one that requested of me. He was one of the ones that requested of me that I really, tap into that situation. I gave a little bit last time, right, Caldwell? But, I went, kind of 10 toes this week. So hopefully you are fully caught up on my thoughts about that particular situation. It needed to be said. I was tired of the disillusion, public that was going around in full protection mode of Laila simply because they like the way she speaks or they think that she is prettier than Claressa Shields. Some people really have it out, this mentality that, because you are prettier, that means you automatically are more of a moral person. Something about you is just, morally upright, right? Like you're just inherently, a good person and to be viewed, in a favorable light or something. Oh, I like the way she looks. So that therefore, this other person is a bully because I don't favor the way they present themselves or the way they speak or, whatever, superficial, nonsensical thing that they can think of. I think it's, asinine, on every level possible. And believe it or not, brothers and sisters, that's a lot of what I was hearing. People didn't really even have any logic or reasoning into, why they were necessarily siding with Laila Ali. None of these fucking people could even name a goddamn Laila Ali fight. They can't name one opponent that woman fucking fought 25 goddamn years ago. Yet here they go hauling ass, in full protection mode, just out the goddamn woodworks. Crazy. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Oh, well, she grow, she's the Claire Huxtable, and Claressa Shields is just some, I don't know what the fuck they think of her, but she is just other than, right? Diabolical work, how superficially charged a lot of the narratives have been surrounding their back and forth. Yes, King Stephen, Muhammad Ali took on the United States government and defeated them. Absolutely. Absolutely. The King Uncommon says, talk to him. Her Mexican fans gonna hesitate to represent her Mexican fans ain't gonna hesitate to represent on Cinco de Mayo because they don't want to exclude her black ass. Her white fans gonna hold off on July 4th to not offend her or nah. You already know what time it is, King Uncommon. Y'all know I'm not lying. The real ones in the building, the good family in the building, know what time it is. Absolutely, King. It always does, comrade. All right. Yes, the $15 million is absolutely to wet that thing, baby. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what she said. Get me $15 million. That's the only thing that'll get me out of bed, child. Give me my $15 million. Claressa said, oh, child, here's the $15 million. Here's the lube. Here's some strawberries. Here's some rose petals. Here's some goddamn Luther Vandross in the background, bitch. Meet me in the middle of that motherfucking ring. Okay, meet me in the middle of the ring, only for her to turn around and just haul ass completely. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Oh my goodness, salute to the beautiful sister, Queen Bella Faith in the building. Big salute to the beautiful sis. She says, the All Lives Matter explanation was terrible. Wasn't it, sis? I mean, how absolutely deflating and disappointing was that? I sat there just listening, and I had to write that because I had to write the quote out so that I could remember it for you guys to recite it to you. And just in looking at I had to hear it and then I had to read what I had wrote verbatim of the statement that she made. It was just diabolical on every level, Queen Bella. Absolutely revolting. I was like shuddering. Real talk, like not even exaggerating. I was just like, oh my God. This is a hell's to the no. We can't do this. Yes, Claressa is definitely good now. Yes, that's what it was. Pretty privilege, right? It's absolutely absurd and as superficial and shallow as it gets. But like I said, that was the prevailing theme that I kept coming across, across social media with people. Oh, well, Claressa actually speaks better. She's classy. That's all you keep hearing. She's just so classy. What the fuck does classy have to do with the fact that she's been talking shit for goddamn 30,000 years about this woman? And what the fuck does her being classy or pretty have to do with the fact that she's an absolute coward and proved herself to be one after all the big shit she was popping? No, it don't work like that. I give a damn how cute you think you are, ho. Watch your mouth. Watch your goddamn mouth. It just, that's how it goes for the real ones. Whether you're a fighter or not, watch your goddamn mouth. Watch your tone. Watch your damn delivery. Because you calling for something and I'm going to absolutely give you what you need. If that's what you need, baby, I got it. Don't play with me. Like, just don't do that. And so Claressa is on that type of time. And this is why she, got the reaction that she got. And this is why Claressa, stood 10 toes on getting that money, which only proved the cowardice and timorousness of, unfortunately, Laila Ali. Now, let's get to this really quickly, you guys. I know I've been kind of long-winded, but I did want to touch on this with you because I know, we are hinting a little bit closer to this. Speaking of debauchery, apparently this Jake Paul and Tank Davis Purple Pain Red Light Special Davis card ain't selling. Have you guys been hearing that? Have you guys come across that particular news, right? That it is being alleged that the tickets ain't goddamn selling for this fight? Isn't this fight in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't the exhibition clown show in goddamn 2 weeks, and the tickets ain't selling, ladies and gentlemen. This is what's being said. This is the rumor that's going around. And it's being alleged that them damn tickets are just sitting there looking around like, $3, $4, $3, $4, $3, $4, right? Ain't that crazy? Motherfuckers gonna start giving away these tickets with a motherfucking free Popeye's chicken sandwich, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, they're gonna start throwing tickets in the bag when you buy, $50 worth of groceries or something like that. I don't know what's going on. The tickets ain't moving. The tickets ain't damn selling. Buy one get one free tickets. Exactly. Twin. What's going on? What is going on? How interesting is that? The fight is 2 weeks away, good people. Honestly, I think a lot of it is chopped up to this, right? And I think there are myriad things that we could, obviously divulge about, the details surrounding why there is a lackluster acceptance of this fight, perhaps. But I'll just get into this. I think that the initial kickoff presser had a lot more to do with it than not. And I think that it did more harm to the intrigue that could have surrounded this fight than good, right? It did more harm, that initial presser. The energy was so deflated. You know what I'm saying? You got Tank Davis snapping his neck and bopping his gums like somebody ratchet ass auntie. It was just a whole goddamn mess, you guys. You remember that? No energy whatsoever. And the energy that was there was nothing usable, nothing serviceable whatsoever. And then that follow-up presser was also lackluster at best, right? So, I'm not into the spectacle of the exhibition at all. You guys know my stance on that, and many of you share the same perspective that I do. I'm not into the goddamn exhibition, the concept of it, anything of it. But at least let's say with the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, you remember that fight last year? At least with that, there was an element of wonder, right? At least with that, there was an element of wonder last year. Many people saw that marketing of that fight with Tyson and Paul to be an opportunity, at the very least, to relive, the heyday, if you will, of Iron Mike. That's kind of the mystique that kind of held that fight together, and that really brought in all of that viewership that ended up tuning into that particular fight. It was the mystique of reliving the heyday of Iron Mike, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not cap. Okay, Jake Paul did not bring 60 million people to that television set, on Netflix tuning in during that exhibition fight. That was Tyson. That was the mystique and the lore and the legend, really, of Mike Tyson that did that, right? So that the entire notion of this fight was predicated on that ideal, right? The man, the myth, the legend, Iron Mike. Oh my goodness, he could possibly knock Jake Paul out, right? So there was that element. Can he do it? I know he's old, but that is Iron Mike. It's just like everybody was wondering if maybe it was a possibility he would knock Jake Paul the fuck out, right? Even though that we were plenty aware that man was nearly goddamn 60 years old, right? This is a nearly 60-year-old man, ladies and gentlemen, right? A man who's been retired since Jesus was a goddamn carpenter, pretty much. Okay, boxing fans the world over, yet and still, just knew in their hearts that there was some type of possibility, maybe in another goddamn dimension somewhere, perhaps, but there was some shred of a possibility, that Mike Tyson was going to bring some smoke to Jake Paul. Obviously, that wasn't true, but like I said, that's what upheld the mystique and the curiosity about that exhibition. Now, as wild as that was to assume or expect, because we know better, it was what it was, right? We love Tyson. That's it. So that now with this Jake Paul, Purple Pain Davis spectacle, all of the vim and vigor around this fight is what, ladies and gentlemen? There is no vim and vigor around that. What is the mystique that is calling this fight to the forefront? Because Tank Davis has no legacy. Tank Davis doesn't have a 3-decade-old goddamn career. Or 40 goddamn decade. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got none of that that's going to really hold weight like Tyson or something like that. What's the thing that is the glue that is holding this particular fight card together? That can really get the fight in motion. That could have really held the promotion of this fight in people's interest. All of the vim and vigor that could have been had in knowing that this fight was going to take place. It would have been implied within, let's say, a level of a competitive undertone. That's where it could have been generated from. The fact that, oh, there's a competitive aspect here in some way, shape, or form. So that even though it showed up, let's say, within the myth and the lore of Mike Tyson, that myth and that lore is what presented the attraction or the illusion of competition for Jake Paul, right? There's no level of competition in the undertone here, ladies and gentlemen. There's absolutely no steam around this engine. I mean, I guess it's because Tank Davis is an elite fighter. It's not to say that he is not and that he doesn't have, that he won't be able to knock what's his name out, and that's not possible. But that people are not taking the competitive undertone of this fight seriously, beautiful people. There's no steam around that engine because of that. And that's leading into the lack of ticket sales. This is the first fight where Jake Paul should be, considered to be going in there with an elite fighter, because that's the reality, right? Tank Davis is an active elite fighter, right? He's a prominent fighter. Okay. However, I would be remiss not to mention that much of the steam gets taken out of that aspect of the fact that it could be competitive, considering that Tank is an actual elite fighter who boxes currently, right? A lot of steam gets taken out of that, though, when we look at the reality that motherfucking Tank goddamn Red Light Special Davis is a 135-pounder. He's a 135-pounder, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's sucking out the mystique of this, is that somebody's goddamn fucking fourth grader, in other words, is going to be getting in there with a goddamn heavyweight come November, whatever date this is supposed to take place on. That's what's sucking the lore out of this, the myth. All right? Because you best believe Jake Paul is going to be a heavyweight on the night of their fight, brothers and sisters, right? Because there's no rehydration clause here. He's going to hydrate up to what the fuck ever he's going to rehydrate up to, which is going to be put him in, in heavyweight status against Tank Davis, this 5 foot, fighter, because he's not over 5'1", right? Crazy work. So the optics of it, I think, also, took out the steam, because it's odd. It was odd looking at that presser, them standing in front of each other. It was odd watching goddamn Tank Davis play with that goddamn blow up balloon. Oh, chow. So many things were wrong about this that just took air out of this completely. What exactly is there to anticipate with this fight? I don't know. I anticipate nothing of this fight, but a spectacle, right? Tank is definitely a skilled fighter, like I said, yes. But ladies and gentlemen, despite what everybody tells you, size motherfucking matters. Okay? In whatever instance you want to put the context to that into. Size goddamn matters, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Don't believe the lie that it doesn't. It absolutely does. And truthfully, that's going to have its own, impact on the fight, right? Not that anything is impossible as far as what's his name, getting over that and being able to supersede Jake Paul's weight, but this is, size matters. Right. And we've heard, people like the likes of Bud Crawford and Devin Haney and so many people, who are elite masters of the sport, reference that point in that reality. Truthfully, this fight is more curious than it's just, I don't know. It's not weighted to me. It doesn't have the curiosity that it could have, despite this having the potential, or at least a little seed somewhere, to be competitive, right? But I think that the fight is more of a circus than Mike Tyson and Jake Paul event last year. I think that this is more of a circus than that, which is crazy, because that was a 60-year-old man. But this fight is more of a circus to me, which is diabolical. I don't know. That's just my personal point of view. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. Simply because the optics of it is diabolical, you guys. I just can't get over the optics of that. And when they're actually in real time in that ring, ooh, chow, it's going to be pure comedy. I don't know. I had no intention of watching it, but I don't know. I may have to kick my feet back with some popcorn or something like that and get a good laugh at the optics, if nothing else, right? Also, if I can be candid, brothers and sisters, what I'm really looking forward to from this fight, if there's anything to be had at all, is the retirement announcement from Red Light Special Davis when it's all over. That's what I'm looking forward to. I give a damn about this goddamn fight or what happens in that goddamn fight. I'm looking forward to the retirement announcement. That's when I'm gonna pop my motherfucking champagne, ladies and gentlemen. When I hear the retirement announcement is official. Okay, that's what I am waiting for. You understand what I'm saying? I just want to know if after the charade is over and done with, after all of the parlor tricks have ceased, all I care about is finding out if this man, Purple Pain Davis, is going to tell the world once and for all and officially that he is retiring from boxing. I do not think that this man is even fit to be boxing at all. Okay. He's not fit. He's not fit in my view. He should not be fighting at all, real talk. Considering, of course, all of the things that have been unfolding with that young man, since early this summer and, even earlier in the year, him catching charges and running over goddamn pregnant women and, oh, child, beating up, baby mamas and then getting new girlfriends and strippers and beating their asses up and beating their goddamn grandmamas up. I don't know what's going on with this man. I don't know what's going on in that man's personal life, right? But obviously he's afflicted. Obviously he's afflicted and he has been dealing with some issues that need tending to and that need, a serious approach to. And I don't know what's going on in that department, right? So I don't want to delve too much into his personal life, but that, we all see what is unfolding, at least in the headlines. And we're looking at it like, what the fuck is going on? And then there were rumors that this fight may actually be canceled altogether, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm sure you guys have heard over the past couple of days, that the fight has been, put in, put in the red, essentially, that there may even be a replacement for the fight so that Jake could be completely fighting somebody else, which is diabolical work. Absolute crazy work, right? He had the Father's Day incident, if you guys recall, with the baby mama, I believe, and I believe those charges were said to be subsequently dropped. I'm not sure. But as of a few days ago, here he go again in another goddamn scuffle and tussle with another woman at a goddamn strip club. What is going on? Another scandal finds its way to the front door of this man. It's just crazy. Apparently, this is an entirely different woman, which is crazy as well, because I thought it was with the same woman. This is a whole nother, oh, child. He done roughed her ass up. He done dragged her ass down some stairs. He done kicked her in the goddamn shins. I don't know what is going on, ladies and gentlemen. I really do not. Why is this man catching cases of assault against women? What is going, why? I just don't understand these altercations, And moreover, how is it that, things tend to happen right as he's on the brink of a fight? Anybody notice that? Right as he's on the brink of, a major event, here he go in the goddamn news. Anybody notice this? Didn't the scandal, maybe somebody can refresh my memory, didn't the scandal over the summer happen right as, I want to say, right at the point where everybody thought that he was going to finally come up and announce that the Lamont Roach rematch was, finalized for that right? Didn't that scandal happen right around that time in June? Remember, because the fight was it was said initially to be going to be set for May, and then it was moved to June. Well, the incident with the baby mama happened, I believe, on Father's Day, right? So everybody was at that time anticipating something of an announcement in June, and here he go with the baby mama scandal, within how many weeks or days of that. Isn't that odd how these are aligning so conveniently with, major events people are expecting of him? Right? And then the news dropped of that whole situation with the baby mama. And then everybody's excuse at that time, if you guys recall, oh, he can't fight Lamont Roach. No, he can't fight Lamont Roach because he got the lawsuit. And that was everybody's way of deflecting from the fact that he had been ducking, right? Oh, he can't fight Roach. No, because, he's not ducking, you guys. He can't fight Roach. It's because of the lawsuit. He's going to get to kicking Roach's ass at some point. Just let him get this lawsuit out of the way. And then he's going to announce the rematch. Well, after June, goddamn came July. After goddamn July came August, and there was nothing. You guys remember that BS, that roller coaster ride? And the fanboys were absolutely mentally out here trying to cope and deal with the fact that Tank Davis had overtly and unabashedly tiptoed evaded, bypassed, and ducked the fuck out of that goddamn rematch, right? And now here we are, 2 weeks away, removed from this circus show that is set for, to take place 2 weeks from now. And bang, here we go again. Motherfucker got another goddamn case. What is going on? What is this timing of the cases that's happening, ladies and gentlemen? I'll say this again because I can't say it enough. Tank Davis should not be fighting. Okay, he is out here jumping balls first into this fight with damn Jake Paul, and it couldn't be more obvious that this is simply and only and solely for the bag, right? As we knew even before the fight was actually announced and we had heard the rumors, everybody knew that this was for a bag, right? So he's out here just, I don't know. He out here wilding, y'all. He's not fit to fight. I don't know. Maybe he got to have some money set aside for all these bitches that's coming out saying that he's beating them upside the head. I don't know. Maybe he got to have some, reserve money for the next 3-4 bitches that's going to come out in the next 6 months that said, listen, he done kicked me in my damn shins or something like that. I don't know what's going on with that man. I have no idea what is going on with Purple Pain Davis. And this is precisely one of the reasons why I'm anticipating a retirement announcement from that young man. I simply don't even know what to think of him anymore. He needs to get to tending to, all of the matters that need tending to in his personal life. Because without enriching that, he has no life, whether it's boxing life or personal life or mental, emotional, spiritual life. It's just deteriorating, it seems, from the outside looking in. And I don't know. All you could do is sit back and say, well, he's a grown ass man out here, hopefully he finds a way to make some wise decisions though. Right? Interesting. And I'll close out with this, ladies and gentlemen, because I have to touch on this. Is important. We are in fight month of the much awaited, much anticipated fight with the young king, Devin Haney, and the young lion, Brian Norman. Right? So let's actually get into and close out our discussion with some actual legacy and actual virtuosity. All right, let's end on that note. Now, the young king Devin Haney is looking absolutely beautiful, as I have been saying week after week and seeing the little pictures of him. But it's much different now because we actually saw live footage of him, giving his little media workout, looking in absolute phenomenal shape. I mean, Devin looks crazy, you guys. Did you guys see the young king? We all saw him give us a sneak peek, right? He didn't do too much now, but he gave us a sneak peek at the shape that he is in that open workout over the past week. He even gave us some interviews, right? We got some insight. Wonderful stuff, you guys. I must say, I feel like Devin Haney is really, really stepping heavy. He's stepping heavy for this one, right? As he does all the time. But I think that with growth, we're going to see, as he unfolds, we're going to see just, more and more development from this young man. And I really, really enjoy watching him mature as a fighter, as a young man, and as an athlete. I like to see Devin Haney claim space. He's one of my favorite fighters. And so when I was talking about claiming one's era, it ties in here as well, right? With the Claressa Shields claiming her era. Tank Davis seems to be making a mockery of the fact that he had his era in his hand and he willingly let it go with all of these antics and his lack of maturity, right? And his obsession with the bag. And his fickle relationship to boxing. He has an era that he absolutely let go asunder. And here we are with Devin Haney, in full-fledged mastery of his craft and taking the reins of his era so that he can claim that supremacy that we were talking about earlier. So I look at him and I get really excited to see the journey that he is on. I feel like he's going to be stepping heavy for this fight. No half stepping in sight. That man looks wonderful. I love how the young king isn't really buying in. If you guys noticed in those interviews, I'll get to the super chats. I see the good family blessing me. I'll get to those in a second. I like how he's not buying into all the noise surrounding the fight and surrounding, the previous year and the scandals and anything. He's not buying into all of that. He's showing a level of, let me charge my, 1 second. Let me charge my thing. I don't want to have this die. He's not buying into that. He's staying sharp. He's staying focused. You know what I'm saying? He's not feeding into any hype surrounding this fight. He looked locked in and ready, right? Now, this has always been a very strong attribute of the young king, that always had me separate him from the rest. He always had a very distinctive disposition and approach to boxing. And as we see him mature, he just looks more and more and more at home, with his championship, with the claim of championship that he wants to assume and acclaim for himself. I love that. I love to see that in the young fighters, that they are serious about what it is that they do. It definitely shows his maturity, and he's not buying into any of the chatter of the public and the extended boxing community that likes to do the tabloid nonsense and all of that. It just seems to made him more of an ardent, passion, impassioned, focused fighter, and I like to see that in him. Now, in the interview, did you guys see the interview that he did on that dude? I believe his name is Ariel. That dude's podcast. He absolutely showed the mindset that I was talking about. He's very ardent. He's focused. He's inflamed about what he is doing. He's ready to go. He's excited, and I think that interview kind of showed that mindset. That he's not here to play, right? I did a short, showing, that perspective. I don't know if you guys saw the little short that I put out the other day where he gave a statement about, him being a real throwback fighter and him taking this seriously, and he's not here to play and he just wants to compete with the best of them. So I love that mentality that he is on. And this is another quote I wanted to share with you. This is at this moment of the discussion in that interview, Devin was asked, pretty much kind of riding off of that sentiment, but he was asked if he ever feels like he will get the credit, the public acknowledgement, of being a throwback fighter, of being somebody who only is interested in fighting the best. And this is what Devin said. He says, quote, "I think one day I'm retired. When I'm retired and I kick my feet up, then they'll give me my credit and say, Devin Haney, he's the throwback fighter. That's what I am. I don't do it for them to give me credit, because that's just the type of person I am. I want the best fighters in the world. I want to test myself against the best. And it's boxing at the end of the day. If I lose, then it is what it is. I want to test myself, though. And I think that's why boxing is where it is now, because guys don't test themselves. Everybody cares about the O. Everybody wants to be undefeated. But I genuinely want to test myself against the best in the world. And I think that I'm one of the best fighters in the world." End quote. And it was just, an absolute wonderful example of why, not only that he's my favorite fighter in the world, but that, he has been in his own lane pretty much since his boxing life, and the pursuit of boxing was on, he's always been a young prodigy. Okay. And so he is continuing to show that, continuing to exemplify that. And it's wonderful to see, that he's carrying that mentality forward. Right. So I love that. He spoke a little bit about Brian Norman. He gave Brian, some acknowledgement in saying that, yes, Brian Norman is a champion. He's the best guy at 147, but he's never been in there with the likes of me. None of his opponents have been, on any level that anybody can accredit as, elite or whatever have you. So that he is interested in seeing the caliber that he believes that Brian Norman has, right, as the number one guy there. But he feels like he's a cut above, as he should, right? So the championship mindset, warrior energy is on 10. Real talk, you guys, I see nothing but domination in store for the young king. As far as the 147-pound division, you guys, a 1,000% supremacy. That's what I see for the young king. Now, of course, we got to see him, actually, go ahead and go do it. He got to get his W. He got to get his victory, right? We're not looking past Brian Norman, but that's what my projection is. 1,000% domination and supremacy of the welterweight division, right? So yeah, we got to see him in that media workout looking absolutely phenomenal. That's all I could really say upon watching him. He looked sharp. Did you guys see him working those pads? He looked crisp. He looked heavy on those pads. Like I said, they didn't want to show too much, but what he showed was a nice little glimpse that can give us an idea of the shape that he's in and how comfortable he is assuming this new weight class, right? He looked phenomenal to me, you guys. Absolutely phenomenal. He doesn't have the limitations that he faced previously in becoming a welterweight fighter, right? He's not dealing with those concerns about making weight anymore. And you can see a level of comfort. He looks so strong, so beautiful, right? So he gave us some insight. I think in this interview as well, he gave us some insight about just that, about how the weight cuts were very, very severe and taxing on him. When he was at 135, he had to make all of those sacrifices. Of course, he was going to do his best to ensure that when he got on those scales, he was going to make that 135 limit. Because, of course, he's always been a consummate professional. He's never missed weight. Very, very professional. So he did all of the sacrifices that were demanded in order to do that. But he did admit that they, brought their struggles, right? And he even highlighted the fact that I believe it was the fight with Lomachenko, particularly, and Ryan Garcia, particularly, that were very precarious for him. The weight cut was very, very precarious for him to make those two particular fights. So it's nice to see, his elevation. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's definitely going to be a factor in the outcome of this fight and how he fights. It's 1000% relieving to hear that he is so comfortable now and that he had a good camp, you know what I'm saying, where he's not focusing on weight. He could actually focus on the basics and, on the aspects of that craft and sharpening the actual craft. He's not so centered around, we got to, incorporate the losing weight. How many pounds? It's one less thing off of his checklist pretty much, which is wonderful. So I think that he got acclimated with Jose Ramirez, which was a good lead in that fight that he had back in May. And now, he had a whole nother full camp where he could, he's going to meet the 147 threshold, and he's just soaking it up. It's wonderful to watch. I'm certainly expecting to see the young king more fluid and more confident, possibly than we've ever seen him. Oh, let me just end here, you guys. Now, did you guys see the King Blue Blood? He was there, right? And so he was taking some footage and stuff like that. Were you guys able to see when he asked the young king a question? Not sure if you guys caught up with the King Blue, but go to his page. Shout out to the brother Blue Blood. Go to his page, and he had a little clip of the media workout, and he he had asked Devin about what he thought pretty much about Brian Norman basically complaining about the fact that he was being drug tested for a certain amount of times. Did you guys see that? Blue Blood asked Devin, he's like, hey, Brian Norman out here saying, that he'd been drug tested 9 times. Tell me what you think about that, Dev. And Devin's like, this is a quote from Dev. He says, what the fuck is wrong with that? What the fuck? Who the fuck says that? What's wrong with being tested? I don't understand that. If he was tested 9 times, then guess what? I was tested 9 times. We both get tested at the same time. So what's the problem? Last time I was in London, they came to test me, and they said it was like my anniversary because that was my 50th test, right? And then he says, so that if he's been tested 9 times, that means I've been tested 59 times at least. But I even have the 365 testing. So, of course, I'm testing way more than that. So this is Devin. He's like, what are you talking about? How is he out here complaining about having been tested 9 times? What is Brian Norman on? And I could not have agreed more with him because I was like, why is this even being made a thing by Team Norman, ladies and gentlemen? Why is there a complaint of any form on the Norman side about testing? What is this about testing that we having these little things about? He complained about the goddamn testing when it was initially ordered that he signed up for. Then he hauled ass on goddamn the Porterway podcast. Then they threw all types of accusations. He's lamenting about that. And now again, he's complaining about having been tested 9 times up until this point. What is up with this man in testing? I just don't get it. Who gives a damn if you tested 9 times, sir? That's what happens when you sign up with VODA testing. Okay? For a championship fight. That's what happens on this level. Young sir, that's what happens. They come, they collect those samples, and they do what they got to do. It's absolutely curious to me, that this man has been lamenting at various aspects, during the buildup of this fight about testing. I just don't get that. It's curious to me why he'd even in any way make a public outcry about that. What's the point? Am I the only one tripping? Right? Because Devin absolutely had the same question when he was talking to Blue. What is going on? Because real talk, what this man is saying inadvertently, and I'm not being accusatory at all, but I'm just talking about what he is inadvertently saying with that type of lament, is that, he'd rather not be tested. That's what you're implying by complaining about, I've been tested 9 times, y'all. And so, isn't that a good thing? Is that too much to handle? Is that too precious for your pretty little self to bear? What is with this preciousness? And what also gets illuminated here, brothers and sisters, is the fact that, apparently Brian Norman is not used to, he has no history of consistently being tested before his fights. So that maybe he got tested, but maybe they went in there and tested, one goddamn time. And that was, I don't know what's going on here. What level of testing has this man, had to adhere to, ladies and gentlemen, which is a very curious thing in and of itself. Right? So that the fact that he is making this seem as if it's a rigorous process is bewildering, is what I'm saying. Right? Just weird. There's a first time for everything, I suppose, but, I'd be absolutely remiss to not say that it raised my little eyebrow once again, brothers and sisters, just like it did back in July when the initial pushback was given from Team Norman. Y'all remember that, right? Where they were requesting to hold off on testing until after he returned from vacation and this, that, and the third, right? Eyebrows were raised then. Well, why don't you get it popping now? And then you had people saying, well, why can't he wait until after? And it's like, well, if you ain't got nothing to fucking hide, nigga, the fuck does it matter when this testing is done? Do the goddamn testing because that's what's required, right? Which he ultimately ended up, signing up for ASAP, right? As he should have, right? No slight to him there, but once again, here is this, tug and pull concerning testing, which is curious to me. What is it with this man and drug testing, right? That he keeps getting caught lamenting about things tied to drug testing, which is diabolical to me. Just take the goddamn test because we're trying to get this fight popping and you're trying to get paid good and return home healthy. You know what I'm saying? Do what you have to do. This is what happens when you are a professional athlete, a professional clean athlete, right? And you are getting in the ring with an extra clean athlete, the only boxer on the planet, signed up for 365 testing so that his testing and cleanliness is absolutely paramount to him. That's the level of fighter that you are in the ring with. So meet him where he's at and do your biggest one. That's it. I just don't understand the complaining is what I'm saying, right? So I'm like, yes, young sir, you won't get that ass tested all the way through. You goddamn right. Because our lives are on the line here. This comes with the territory when you are dealing in the league of the elite, right? When you are dealing with a clean sportsman, this will be demanded of you. And this is what I'm expecting Brian Norman in his ventures, even after November 22nd, if he continues to amass and claim, success and status for himself, that he would, ensure to do, right? If we want an upright sport, I just don't understand what the lamenting is about. It shouldn't be a big deal considering that, I don't know, your life is on the line. Who gives a damn that you've been tested 9 times, sir? Test me 19 goddamn times. Test me 99 goddamn times. I don't give a damn. Let's be clean. Because like you said, you're going to get a clean ass whooping. Ain't that what you said you're going to do? Well, we're going to ensure that cleanliness. Stop goddamn complaining. Anyway, let me check in with my good people before I, end our discussion today and let you guys go do what you do. Shout out to everybody in the building, right? Not sure if I may have missed. Oh, salute to the village brother. Salute to you. He says crazy. Salute to the king. Vaughn in the building. He says only a select few stand for anything in boxing. Absolute truth. Absolute truth. What did Caldwell say? The king says, thank you for correcting this old ass lady. Request fulfilled. I'm glad I was able to fulfill that for sure. Because you definitely asked, King. You were one of those ones that was like, what you think about this now, Sugar Free? Need to hear them thoughts on that. And I figured I'd just stand 10 toes because unlike Laila, I don't duck smoke. You feel me? I'm astounded by this live. Thank you. Oh, really? I'm glad. Hopefully you enjoyed it from start to finish, King Caldwell. And I definitely appreciate you in attendance. All right. Let me see what else to good. I'm just scrolling through, you guys. My beautiful sister Emma says nobody wants the BS they selling. Real talk. Real talk. My twin says that fight was pure stupidity. I guess people started catching on. Which one you was talking about, King Daryl, and that sister? I went a ways up, but what were you talking about? Which fight? The king and the coach Hudson says, spineless black men, I refuse to bow down when our children and women are looking at us to be who God meant for us to be. 1000%. Couldn't have said it better. Yeah, the spinelessness that goes on and that we see, through and through, across these platforms, across people's channels, and just, in the landscape as a whole. It's just like, oh my God, you guys can't be serious. A lot of these people be grown-ass men, as you know. It's diabolical. Absolutely diabolical to me. What did the king uncommon said? He says, I'm still waiting for Tank to go at Jake for that gay-ass AI he put. Oh, my God. Facts. Man never said a word about that goddamn disrespect. Excuse me? What upright black man is going to sit up there and accept something like that? You can't get no goddamn brother in his right mind to accept a fucking AI video put out of you fucking smacking lips with him. No self-respecting man is going to accept something like that. Right? So that he continued on to say, Tank had way more energy for Devin being cheated by Ryan than Jake disrespecting him to the utmost. Could not have said it better, King Uncommon. I mean, you just cannot make this up. You can't make it up, even if you tried. Diabolical. He hasn't said a peep. Ain't said a peep then, ain't said a peep now. I guess he was too busy slapping somebody goddamn auntie upside the head, maybe. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where that man's focus is, but wherever it is, it's gone awry. Absolutely awry. Diabolical work. I forgot my super chats. Let me shout out the good people. I got King Nata earlier. Salute to the King Nata again. We got the village brother with the love in the super chat. He says, just wanted to start it off. Stay cooking. Thank you so much, King. I appreciate your support of the channel, and definitely thank you for joining in today's discussion. My beautiful sis, Cammy Cam in the building. She says, appreciate you and your content, beautiful sis. My sis is her, listening and working this evening. Thank you so much, my beautiful sis. Always with the love. That's my sister, you guys. Love, love, love to my sister, Cammy. And infinite blessings to my twin, Daryl, with the love. He says, just throwing some paint on the wall for a good cook. Got hot in the kitchen today, but we like it that way. Always great stuff, twin. Thank you so much, King. My beautiful, lovely twin, Daryl Anderson. Thank you so much for the love and the support and all of the wonderful, encouraging energy that you bring each week. Oh my goodness, we got the King Corbin in the building. Salute to you. He says, nope, he busy liking the shit. Oh, probably. I mean, listen. Sometimes silence says it all. And who the hell knows with it, in this time, in this climate, child, I don't even want to know. I'm gonna just leave that one there. I'm going to leave that there. But yeah, salute to the good people. Oh my goodness, my beautiful king popped back up. He says, when you're on drugs, you cry about drug testing. Well, oh my gosh, shots fired. Shots fired. I just found that to be, it's just like the crying. I don't understand the crying. It's just strange to me. That's like saying, oh, I don't want to lift these weights today, motherfucker. Or I don't want to, go run this, however many miles today. This is a part of the job. Okay? This is a part of the job. You do what you have to do to ensure that you get the job done to the best of your ability, whatever that entails. The crying is just senseless to me. I just don't understand it at all. Big love to my beautiful King BFTB, and infinite blessings and love to the good brothers and sisters. I appreciate you guys so much for joining me on some good boxing cooking. I hope that you guys enjoy the discussion. I'm wishing you a wonderful week ahead. Definitely going to land the plane there. Definitely, beautiful people, hit the like button on your way out. Keep in touch with me on my community page throughout the week. Never know what I might drop. Never know what I may want to share with you guys. I like to keep in touch with y'all there throughout the week. So sending infinite blessings to you guys. I'm encouraging and calling in a very prosperous week. I'm encouraging and calling in some good energy to surround you this week and always, beautiful people. That's it for me. I will see you guys on the next one. Infinite love. Peace.